Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 18th December 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. HARDAN, 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 Haribol, TRSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to discuss and analyze topics that we have learned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been trying to do in my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the past few videos, we have been trying to discuss and analyze in detail one particular very important term in our own human psyche, life, and our own birth in this material world. This is equally applicable to every human living entity, whether male or female. This particular term is known as mind. There are two types of mind. One is one layer among the four layers of material body that envelop this individual spirit soul. On the other hand, the mind that I am trying to talk envelopes all the three subtle bodies of the four layers of material body that envelop this individual spirit soul. Vibrations from the causal body of intelligence and logic, astral body of mind, feelings and emotions, and etheric body of five senses, namely sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, include in this particular broad term called mind, because all these three types of vibrations are initially sent to this storage called mind. This mind is the subtle form of a gross mass of tissue called brain, which is safely embedded in the cranium of every gross body. This mind takes vibrations from those three subtle bodies and transmits them directly to this mass of tissue called brain. When these messages arrive from the mind to the brain, this brain starts selecting and processing those selected vibrations from the mind. This selection is dependent on the destiny, karma, birth, surrounding, atmosphere, cerebral faculties, evolvement, experience, maturity, knowledge, age, whims and fantasies, and tastes and preferences of that particular living entity, whether male or female. When these selected vibrations are processed by that brain, this processed ingredient is converted into a concentrated juice, which then is percolated down the gross body of the same human living entity, whether male or female. The actions and reactions of that particular living entity depend on the quality and quantity of juice thus percolated down the body by the same brain. This process begins 9 months before that particular living entity, whether male or female, is born. At that time, this particular living entity is getting formed in the womb of his or her mother. However, the transmission of vibrations begins there and then because by that time the four subtle bodies envelop that individual spirit soul already, and hence they start their own process. This process begins 9 months before the birth of that living entity, and they end the moment this lifetime of that living entity, whether male or female, ends. In other words, this subtle form of ingredient in the psyche of every human living entity called mind stops working there and then. This mind is the main instrument that drives this chariot called the human living entity, whether male or female, all his or her lifetime. As long as this mind is active, that particular living entity is also active in this material world. The moment this instrument called mind stops working in a lifetime, that living entity immediately drops his or her gross body in this terra firma, and the mind, along with the three subtle layers of body or material body of that particular living entity, pass into space. However, they are still alive. Whatever unworked karma of a lifetime remains, this particular unworked karma of that particular living entity gets stored in the superconscious memory of that living entity in that mind. This particular storage of unworked karma of that living entity is known as Sanchit karma. This Sanchit karma remains in this particular storage birth after birth and death after death. In other words, unworked karma of a particular living entity, whether male or female, in different lifetimes, keeps adding to the Sanchit karma of that particular living entity and is kept as a store in the same mind. Of this Sanchit karma, one slice is taken by the same living entity to be used as the foundation for his or her next lifetime in another birth. In other words, this slice of Sanchit karma of that living entity becomes the foundation for this particular living entity's next birth. This slice is known officially and technically as prarabdha karma. In other words, the life of that particular living entity in a lifetime initially is dependent on that slice called prarabdha karma. However, destiny has given a free will to every human living entity, whether male or female, to act in a lifetime in this material world. This free will may be directly or indirectly connected to the prarabdha karma or may be completely independent of that prarabdha karma. This free will karma is known as kriyamana karma. The unworked part of kriyamana karma, along with the unworked part of that prarabdha karma, is joined together and is known as agami karma. Agami means future. This unworked part of karma of that living entity is then stored back into the same Sanchit karma for another birth. Now we know why one particular human living entity, whether male or female, chooses a place, and a parentage to be born in, live in a particular surrounding, get evolved cerebrally, and act accordingly. This is really or actually the reason for the coloring of this society. Every human living entity and his or her destiny in a particular lifetime is different from the other. One may succeed in the beginning, struggle in the middle, and fail in the end. On the other hand, the other may start with failures in the beginning, struggle in the middle, and succeed in the end. This goes on and on in the case of every human a living entity, whether male or female in this material world. However, it is very surprising to note that the psyche of every human living entity is very different from each other, and so every living entity finds himself or herself comfortable in the situation that he or she is in any lifetime. They may be sad, sorry, happy, angry, frustrated, etc. But yet they feel invariably through their own psyche that they actually deserve the place that they find themselves in any particular part of their lifetime. People who were very successful in the beginning find themselves not so successful in the later stages of life, thanks to their prarabdha karma and their kriyamana karma. On the other hand, those who struggled in the beginning and succeeded in the end also come across their own lifetime based on their prarabdha karma and their kriyamana karma. This goes on and on endlessly. It provides a lesson to every student of life in every material world in this lifetime. People learn from the experiences of others as well as their own experiences in a lifetime. As Dr. Abul Kalam, the famous scientist from India, once quipped, "It is not a sin to be born poor, but it is certainly a sin to die poor." Poverty does not mean just financial poverty. It includes the value of money, character, education, experience, maturity, knowledge, and creativity of every living entity. In other words, he says that every living entity must make sure that either he or she lives his or her lifetime according to his or her prarabdha karma, or he or she must make sure that his or her kriyamana karma is all is equal to the quality of his or her prarabdha karma or even superior to it. Only then the life of that particular living entity in this lifetime and in his or her future Satchit karma will improve. As I said, wealth includes financial wealth, educational wealth, experience, maturity, mellowness, and other such factors which make every human living entity, whether male or female, a better person in this world. We have been trying to discuss these things in our various videos. Here too, we will try to discuss them along with some case histories that will authenticate this particular theory. Here I would like to remind you that of the living entities in the material world at any given lifetime include three categories broadly. 75% of living entities in this society in a lifetime are mundane and vegetative in nature. They have come here to act as zombies to enjoy a particular lifetime. The evolvement, both material and spiritual, has not yet begun. The other 25% include two categories. 20% of humanity worships the dark negative forces of this material world, and the other five, which is actually the crown or cream de la cream of the society, includes living entities who are either materialistically or spiritually positive in their nature. We have discussed the case histories of many of the people of this 5%. The 75% are not worth discussing because they are still in the formative stage. However, in the past few videos, we have been trying to discuss about several living entities belonging to the middle 20% category. Here, I would hasten to add that when it comes to every living entity, mind of that living entity is present in that set of bodies of that living entity, whether male or female. Hence, when we are trying to talk about mind, we have to take into consideration all the three categories. As mentioned before, the 75% do not have anything to contribute on the knowledge and experience of mind in our studies. However, this 20% has something to contribute to the psyche of living entities, and to teach him or her what not to do and what he or she must refrain from while living successfully and progressing spiritually successfully in a lifetime. In that process, we were in my yesterday's video talking about a particular gang war called the Castellamaris War between various mafia and underworld figures in the city of New York and the city of New Jersey in the United States of America in the late 20s or early 30s. We know by now that all players in this particular activity at that time were people whose mind was very active in the dark negative forces of life. Everyone was equally engaged earnestly into illegal and unlawful activities while trying to whack, murder, kill, shoot, or maim each other in that gang war. Prohibition of alcoholic beverages gave a particular boost to the evil desires and ambitions of all these greedy underworld figures, as a result of which each wanted to vie with the other for superiority in the society when it came to nefarious, illegal, ill gotten financial gains. However, here I would like to continue from where one person called Lucky Luciano, who was working with a gang called the Joe the Boss Masseria gang, ganged up with another member called Vito Genovese and had the second in command of the same Masseria gang killed in a particular move to pin the murder on the rival called Salvatore Maranzano. They thought that this will result in a heating up in the gang war. They felt that Joe the boss Masseria will take offense to his own right hand man being shot by Salvatore Maranzano and his gang. However, the reactions of Joe the Boss Masseria were slightly different, to the surprise of Lucky Luciano. He did not bother about this, and instead he put his own man called Joseph Pinzolo in the place of the now dead Gaetano Tom Reina. The mafia was appalled. In other words, Masseria wanted it to be known to the underworld of that time that this Pinzolo will succeed him in the event of his own retirement or death in the underworld. Pinzolo was nowhere in experience and qualities to Gaetano Tom Reina, who was naturally very successful in this underworld and who was controlling the supply of ice to various households and markets in the New York state. We will continue this discussion in my next video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter. Please give me your own expert opinions, thoughts, ideas, and views so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.